What is really going on in Fulton County, aka Fani Willis territory, guys? So this just in, it turns out that right after key witness Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland invoked his Fifth Amendment rights in the Young trial or Young Thug YSL trial, it was revealed that the judge had unlawfully leveraged the sheriff's department to suppress media coverage of his actions. Now, this is coming from a journalist for the Rolling Stone and the Guardian, who detailed his experience of being escorted out of the courtroom by two sheriff's deputies and being told that they were not allowed to report what was going on. So apparently, this judge, intoxicated by power, seems to believe that he can conceal his misconduct by silencing the press. Now, as I've shared with you guys before, the same tactic was attempted against Brian Steele and many others who dared to challenge him. Now, needless to say, guys, this situation, it only shows a deeply systemic issue in Fulton County where the judge, without any legitimate basis, attempts to control the narrative by restricting media coverage, potentially to shield prosecutorial misconduct or maybe even judicial errors that could be grounds for a mistrial or at least an appeal. I mean, like, this whole case has literally been like just chock full of arrests, charges, and alleged judicial misconduct. For one, state witness Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland, some say the witness that is at the center of this particular case, he was arrested on the stand after refusing to testify. And according to his attorney, he was unaware that the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's office had been preparing his client for trial testimony until the day before and had contact with Copeland without an attorney present. So there seems to be this pattern of the DA's office and the judge kind of going behind the defense's back for high profile cases like this one. Because after this arrest of this particular key witness, Brian Steele, one of Young Thug's attorneys, he filed a motion in order to have the Chief Superior Court Judge Ural Glanville removed from the case and a mistrial to be declared over alleged misconduct during a private meeting between the judge related to, witness Kenneth Copeland's testimony. Now, this over an allegedly improper meeting that Glanville held with prosecutors in Copeland. Brian Steele's disclosure of the meeting earlier this month and his refusal to divulge who told him about it ultimately prompted Glanville to hold Steele in contempt and demand that he get jail time. Now, seriously, guys, it is definitely time that we find out what's really going on in Fulton County, as it's starting to look like the Wild Wild West over there. I mean, could there really be something this suspicious going on behind the scenes with the DA's office and their whole entire justice system? Well, my goal today is to find out the answer to that question, right? So stay right there, guys. But first, just a real quick preview of Judge Ural Glanville of Fulton County basically being the judge, being the jury, and maybe even being the executioner all at the same time in his courtroom. Check this out.
Defense attorney Brian Steele filed a motion to have the judge removed from this case. He claims the current judge is biased against his client Jeffrey Williams, aka rapper Young Thug. The judge overseeing the YSL RICO trial denying the motion to recuse himself from the case.
I've consumed everything on it, and that doesn't change my ruling at this point in time, respectfully.
The motion, filed by rapper Young Thug's attorney Brian Steele, largely centers around the meeting that occurred earlier this month between the judge, prosecutors, and a key witness. Steele alleging the private meeting was improper and that defense attorneys were not notified about it.
How did you get that information supposedly from my chambers?
Steele's refusal to divulge who told him about the conversations that occurred during that meeting, prompting the judge to hold Steele in contempt and give him jail time.
So I've added this court to the witness list.
While the judge plans to stay on this case, Steele says he plans to ask witness Kenneth Copeland about that private meeting during cross-examination.
When that day comes, I'm going to ask him about how much pressure, if any, the court put on him. And you're going to be the one instructing the jury. And I just can't imagine how that's fair to Mr. Williams.
So yeah, as attorney Brian Steele has painfully tried to kind of get across to the judge there, Glanville's basically saying he's given himself the right to be a witness in a trial that he himself is presiding over. Not to mention him being okay with the fact that, being the one who's given instructions to the jury when he's the one in question of pressuring who is perhaps the most key witness to the case. Now, I'm telling you guys, only in Fulton County, all right? Hopefully it's not happening in other counties, but I wouldn't be too surprised. Now, many people who have been kind of following this from the very beginning, they're just wondering, when is someone going to step in and stop this judge? Now, based on what he's doing, a lot of people, even the experts, they're arguing that he's clearly corrupt and needs to be arrested and disbarred. Now, adding to that, yet another incidence of potential judicial misconduct in this Young Thug YSL trial, courtesy of Rolling Stone and The Guardian journalist George Chidi. So Chidi appeared recently in a live stream hosted by Phil Holloway on YouTube, which you can find. I'll leave a link for you guys down below. So yeah, during the stream, Chidi talked about how right after key witness Lil Woody invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, it was revealed that the judge had unlawfully leveraged the sheriff department to suppress media coverage of his actions. Now, a lot of people are like, well, why did he do that? What was he trying to hide? What was he trying to cover up? They basically described the judge as intoxicated by power, as he apparently believed that he could conceal his misconduct by simply silencing the press. And as we saw, basically the same tactic was attempted against Brian Steele and others who dared to challenge him. So Chidi talked about the incident in this trial, and in his article about the trial, he mentions how just moments before Copeland re-entered the courtroom, two Fulton County Sheriff deputies, they pulled reporters aside to tell them not to record if it became necessary for them to arrest Copeland. Wow. So they didn't want that to be caught on camera. Now, the instruction was in conflict with the standing order for the media in the court, and deputies refused to explain the law enforcement rationale for their instruction. Now, they then asked Judge Ural Glanville's staff attorney, Wesley Kearns, if Glanville would issue that instruction as an order. Kearns then approached the judge to presumably kind of pass that message along. Glanville did not issue that order before ordering Copeland jailed for willful contempt following his recusal to testify. Brian Steele, he suggested that this could be grounds for mistrial, especially considering the fact that, the prejudice that Judge Glanville has showed in the courtroom. I mean, guys, like, what the heck is going on here? I mean, the sheriff deputies, they're telling reporters that they cannot report. Kind of gives you the impression that the whole country, or at least this whole justice system, is in on this thing. Like, what do you guys think? Is the whole justice system really corrupt? Are they sending people to jail that really are innocent? Are they railroading people? I mean, if you're starting to get the picture here, you guys, then I totally get it, because I think it's almost becoming crystal clear at this point. The situation, it just kind of underscores a underlying systemic issue where the judge, without any kind of legitimate basis, attempts to control the narrative by restricting media coverage, potentially to shield prosecutorial misconduct or maybe even judicial errors that could be grounds for an appeal. Needless to say, though, it is concerning that this pattern of behavior continues to extend to ex parte communications, where the judge and the prosecutors, they might meet with the defense, without the defense being present. And this just raises all sorts of serious ethical and legal questions. Now, this case, it reveals even deeper problems within our judicial system, where transparency and accountability, they're seemingly increasingly more and more sacrificed for expediency or maybe personal agenda, something that we're all too familiar when it comes to the Fulton County and DA Fani Willis's office. You know what I mean? Now, before we dive any deeper into what's really going on in Fulton County, I just want to remind you guys to take a second, hit the like button for the video if you guys are finding this information eye-opening and informative. Also, I really appreciate you guys for subscribing to the channel. It is the best way to stay updated with the case and others like it. So I really appreciate the support, you guys, but let's get back to it. So just to kind of give you guys like a primer on this case, Young Thug got arrested on May 9th, 2022 with 27 others in Buckhead, Georgia. They were all a part of a major indictment with 56 charges where prosecutors they're trying to prove that YSL, Young Slime Life, is actually a criminal street gang responsible for numerous offenses, not just a record label called Young Stoner Life as the defense claims. Now, he is facing 8 very serious charges under a federal law which is meant to tackle organized crime. Now, interestingly enough, Georgia, along with like 32 other states, has its own version of its RICO law, which doesn't require criminal enterprises to have been around as long as the federal law does. And so Williams, which is Young Thug, is also charged with several drug-related offenses and legal possession of firearms, including a machine gun. Now, of course, his lawyers are fighting back, insisting that he's not the gang leader, but the prosecutors are trying to make him out to be that. Now, the trial kicked off on November 27, 2023, and let's just say it's been anything but smooth, with a lot of arrests, a lot of charges disrupting the proceedings. Defense lawyers are worried that this could drag on for years and years and years, especially given the number of witnesses that the state wants to bring in. Not to mention the trial's jury selection, it lasted longer than pretty much any other in Georgia history, and witness testimony itself is likely to surpass the state record. So this whole trial involving Young Thug, it took an unexpected turn when Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland, he's a witness, or specifically a key witness in a complicated past, was arrested right there in the courtroom for refusing to testify. Now, Copeland, known in the YSL circle and previously labeled as a snitch after his interrogation tape leaked last year, was supposed to be a major witness for the case. But he showed up to court on short notice, only a day's public notice, and initially planned to plead the fifth. Now, the judge, Earl Glanville, he told Copeland that, hey, he can't just, he couldn't just refuse to speak since the district attorney's office had granted him immunity from prosecution based on his testimony. Now, after a little bit of back and forth, Copeland seemed ready to comply, but asked to first talk with his lawyer, Jonathan Melnick. Now, Melnick, he wasn't happy, accusing the prosecutors of last-minute preparations and inappropriate dealings with Copeland. He said that he was unaware that the district attorney's office had been preparing his client for trial testimony until the day before, and he had contact with Copeland without an attorney present. That's another no-no. And so Assistant District Attorney Adrian Love said that Copeland told them he wasn't represented and had been cooperating freely up until that point. Now, things quickly escalated after Copeland's arrest. Brian Steele, representing Williams, immediately called for a mistrial. Judge Glanville, he acknowledged that calling a witness who's expected to refuse to testify could be seen as misconduct, but he didn't think that this was what was happening here. Now, despite all of this, rumors have been swirling around that Copeland would not testify, which essentially the defense argued could unfairly influence the jury, especially since the trial had been dragging on for like 8 months. Prosecutor Adrian Love countered that Copeland had agreed to testify but changed his mind after speaking with his attorney, hinting at possible witness tampering by someone outside the state's team. Now, it was a dramatic day to say the least, with both sides essentially throwing very serious accusations at one another, including potential disciplinary actions against the assistant district attorney for how they handled interactions with Copeland. So I think it's pretty safe to say here, guys, the day certainly went off the rails, just like Love described. Now, Melnick, he also kind of intends to refer the assistant district attorney to the state bar for disciplinary action, both for the communicating with his client without notifying him and for the accusation of witness tampering. Now, the Monday after Lil Woody's arrest, he had a change of heart. He agreed to testify, which is when Steele actually revealed that he had actually come into some inside information about what took place during an ex parte conversation between Fulton County prosecutors, Glanville, and Lil Woody. Now, the term ex parte, it refers to a decision made by a judge without requiring all parties in a dispute to be present. And according to Steele, Glanville and the DA's office unilaterally decided to pressure Lil Woody into testifying. When questioned by Glanville on how he got his hands on this confidential information, Brian Steele, he basically refused and said he's not going to reveal his source. He's not going to rat out his informant. So his refusal led to his arrest. Glanville, the judge, lost it and ordered that Brian Steele be detained in the Fulton County jail for up to 20 days. The Supreme Court of Georgia had to step in after Ashley Merchant came to the rescue and ultimately granted Steele a bond, so he's now free while he appeals his contempt of court charge. And so in a very bold move, Brian Steele, he filed a motion to have Judge Glanville removed from the case and to totally just kind of declare a mistrial, citing alleged misconduct during a private meeting by the judge related to witness Kenneth Copeland's testimony. Shortly after that, Judge Glanville denied the motion, calling for him to be recused or disqualified from the case. After this motion was denied, Brian Steele made it very clear that he intends to grill Copeland, also known as Lil Woody, about the very meeting during cross-examination. Now, according to him, when that day comes, he's going to be questioning Lil Woody about how much pressure, if any, the court put on him, and Judge Glanville is going to be the one instructing the jury, and I just can't imagine how that's actually going to be fair to Williams. You know what I'm saying? Now, what do y'all think? Because some people are saying that this and the Fani Willis trial against former President Donald Trump, that it's time to leave the Democratic plantation forever and make America honest again, as they say. Now, lots to watch out for, but for now, let's just go ahead and call it a wrap for today's deep dive in this whole whirlwind of legal and ethical questions swirling around Fulton County. I do think, though, I think it's pretty clear that what we're witnessing is a very pivotal moment in how justice and accountability is being handled in at least these high-profile cases. So if you guys found this video informative, don't forget to hit the like button for the video, subscribe to the channel, share this video. That way you can stay updated on all of our future content. And as always, totally appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.